Good afternoon, Britain. It's 23 minutes past 2, and a former Metropolitan Police Commissioner has urged ministers to review the use of non-crime hate incidents.
Well, this all comes as a report by the Policy Exchange think tank estimates up to 60,000 hours of police time is taken up investigating these non-crime incidents every year.
So, is it time to start policing the streets and not the tweets? Well, to discuss this further, we're now joined by the head of crime and justice at Policy Exchange, David Spencer. David, this is a very timely report. And just to check we're getting that correct, you think that 66,000 hours a year of police time are being wasted on this attack on free speech?
Good afternoon. Well, we think it's at least 60,000. We think it's probably more than that. If we look at the numbers, there are about 13,000 of these incidents reported by police every year. And when we look at the process that police forces then go through, then we estimate it's probably at least, if not more than 60,000 police hours a year. And of course, the reality is that is time that could be spent, as you've just indicated, catching burglars, catching robbers, drug dealers and violent criminals and putting them behind bars rather than focusing on these sorts of incidents instead.
College of Policing themselves that came up with the idea of instituting non-crime hate incidents. I suppose in order to keep track of people that might then go on to commit crime. Is there a danger here of political activists, politicians, campaigners and all the rest of it interfering with operational work of the police?
Well, you're right. It was a 2014 College of Policing guidance which certainly entrenched non-crime hate incidents into policing practice, although they actually go back a lot further. We trace them back to the 1999 Macpherson inquiry into the murder of Stephen Lawrence. So they've been around for some time, but it was the 2014 guidance that really entrenched them in policing practice. I have to say, in fairness to the College of Policing, I think that more recently they've been trying their best to go down a more sensible route. But of course, individual police forces choose, and chief constables choose what their own forces are going to do, and sometimes ignore the College of Policing and just go down their own route.
What your report highlights is a really extraordinary disparity between different police forces. I think you record that Essex Police record these non-offence offences at a rate of 21.5 per 100 officers per year, but in West Yorkshire it's just 7.2. What do you think accounts for this huge difference in how different police forces approach these non-crime hate incidents?
Well, you're right. The numbers are really stark, the variation. I think that's why members of the public are so alert and concerned about this, because they know that if you live in Essex and you tweet something which may be rude, unpleasant, but that's not unlawful, then actually you may well get investigated. Whereas if you're up in West Yorkshire, where I'm not far from where I'm originally from, actually there'll be nothing, no knock on the door at all from the police. So I should imagine that people in Essex are pretty worried about this. I think what accounts for the difference, it's very difficult to say precisely, because actually police forces are pretty secretive about this. They don't, in the main, publish their policies. Very few police forces do, and very, very few publish the data on non-crime hate incidents. And that's one of the things that we call for in the Policy Exchange report, is we say actually there needs to be a lot more transparency here in terms of the policies and in terms of the data that police forces, that shows what police forces are actually up to on this. In terms of what accounts for the difference, it's very, very difficult to say, but I would imagine and I would expect that this is about choices by police chiefs and by police and crime commissioners as to what those officers and what their forces choose to prioritise. So it is a decision that is being made in police chiefs' sort of meeting rooms and executive suites. They're the ones that are deciding who and how many of these incidents get recorded.
Now, of course, your report highlighted a number of different incredibly concerning examples of this, but perhaps the most evocative for me was from Merseyside Police in 2021. They went round with big vans around Merseyside saying being offensive is an offence, which of course it isn't.
Tom, unfortunately, I've lost you down the line, I'm
Oh,
afraid.
no.
But all I can say to you is that certainly what we're calling for is the abolition of non-crime hate incidents, and certainly we hope that the government will heed that today. And there are people like Lord Hogan Howe, former Commissioner of the Met, has certainly supported and endorsed the report that we've published, and he's calling certainly for a whole review by government around this, and hopefully the Home Office and the government are listening.
OK, well, David, I'm very sorry that we seem to have lost communications, unless... If you can hear me now, nod, and I'll try one more. No, it seems like we might have lost that communication. But, David, thank you so much for joining us anyway. David Spencer there of Policy Exchange.